Lord of the Rings Return of the King review by MandaloreGaming. I have very fond memories of playing this, as well as the Two Towers and the Third Age on GameCube. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's going to be copyrightable. Let's see how that works. Because this is an older video, it might not be. The soundtrack is what worries me. Maybe we're good.
It was only a matter of time until I came back to Lord of the Rings. Except this time around, it's a movie-based game, and one that's not horrible.
No.
One of the big reasons movie tie-in games are typically so awful is because they had very tight deadlines. The game had to be ready to release around the time the movie came out.
Yes.
No, Lord of the Rings Return of the King, the game, had a lot of effort put into it. It's rare to see a movie tie-in game turn out so well.
It kind of did. It's one of those, like, I feel there were still issues with it, but like, especially the Birth Kirith Ungol part. The spiders, actually, Shelob's lair. I got stuck on the spiders section for a while. It took me a while to figure that out, but that might have been late development rush. Like, it's actually not that bad of a game, and I would absolutely go ahead and play it again on stream. My issue is that the film's soundtrack is in there, and that is going to be a copyright nightmare.
It's not without its issues.
Sorry,
For
finishing
example,
Pop-Tart.
actually trying to play it.
Yeah,
It's gonna be one of those games. It's not too difficult to find a console version of the game. The Game Boy copies are harder to find since the Silk Road shut down. There are a few physical copies of the PC version.
Yeesh. God, I might have to buy one of these. I know I was looking for Battle for Middle-earth 2 recently.
Being sold, but none digitally. If you get a legit version, it might not run at all or get stuck loading. Some alternative copies have a bug where you can only play as Sam. Now, Sam did say he wanted to share the load, but I don't think he meant it for fucking everybody.
No.
Luckily, there's a patch that makes my actual copy run. I don't know if that fixes the Sam thing. There's also a patch that lets you play the game in widescreen. The 3D part renders fine, but it will stretch out the UI.
Interesting.
Still looks alright.
It looks okay.
This is a game that ideally you'll play with a controller, but there are some issues there. The default settings are completely incorrect on PC, so you need to fix those. The game also
remember when game manuals looked like this? I remember looking through mine. Remember when game manuals looked like this? Your games had manuals that came in them. You would always look on the inside of the box, and then inside on the left or the right, depending on your console, right? Generally on the left, since I came from GameCube, right? And you would just have these, and there was so much flair and design and care that went into those. This really was a different form of gaming.
The game also doesn't pick up on controller triggers.
Interesting.
I tried multiple controllers, did every remapping trick I could think of, but no dice. You'll have to use a third-party software for that, or just use the bumpers.
Right.
Now, there is one thing left, which I can't fix, and that's the loading. It starts kind of like a lawnmower.
Aragorn's path leads him through this terrible...
I think I've experienced a couple of these. I played on GameCube, so my experience may be different than the PC port of it, especially if it is a port, right? I played Two Towers, I played Return of the King, and I played the Third Age, which was the Final Fantasy turn-based one, which, oh my god, I want to go back through that. It was so fun. It's so good. Yeah, no, it's... Man, this used to be a time. Games used to be so good. I mean, they still kind of are.
It's a good motivation not to die, because loading takes a while. Even opening the in-game menu will cause everything to freeze up. Once it is loaded, everything is perfectly smooth.
Right.
Even loading cutscenes or bonus movies aren't immune to this. It can be odd when the game visuals transition into the movie scenes, like this one here from a battle.
Yeah, they did do that, yeah. YouTube scenes only allow use of select scenes and select length from the New Line Cinema's Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Yes, no, and that's why I'm worried about trying to stream any of these games. Like Third Age, I'd love to go through again. I think there's a lot of cool RPG-isms I could point out, but especially when, like, you go to the Palantiri, like, because Gandalf speaks to you throughout the games in, like, you know, update form, like a narrator would, right? And it just plays, like, music and clips from the movie, and it's like, TOS gonna hurt. Copyright gonna hurt. Most footage from New Line Cinema's Lord of the Rings, Return of the King will be replaced with non-infringing equivalent. Oh, please. I'm ready.
Stay here. I'll go get reinforcements.
I love it. I love it.
So it's obnoxious to deal with, but it's stable. I've never had the game actually crash on me. Unsurprisingly, it runs and looks a lot better than the console version. Parts that would cause horrific slowdown on the Xbox don't even phase it here. The actual process of starting the game is just way more annoying, so pick your poison.
Yeah.
And with that, we can finally talk about the game. This is an adventure hack and slash orc beat 'em up.
Yeah,
it's actually very similar to the older Gauntlet games, but has more complexity to it. So
I can't speak to Gauntlet as I never played them, but it is a very, you have your set characters and your set stories. So say in the Frodo and Sam path, you can play as Frodo or Sam on most parts, obviously, where you can't due to story constraints. And yeah, it is a very much like the black speech texture on this, right? Or not texture, the light, the ring shows that you can interact with this object. You can attack it, you can push it down. In this case, since it looks like we're in Cirith, you drop it down, burn a bunch of orcs in the pit. But yeah, it's a mini kind of combo brawler beat 'em up kind of thing.
Let's start with the visuals. If I could describe it in a word, I'd probably choose gray, maybe brown. I don't know, it's somewhere in the middle there. It is drab looking, but it's hard for me to entirely fault the game.
This is the spider part. This took me a hot minute.
The game is doing its best to mirror the locations in the movie authentically, and yeah, they did look like this.
Yeah.
I still think they cranked some areas too far in the drab and darkness department. Even the greens in an area like a forest are really muted down. I understand that they wanted a darker tone since the war to end all wars is going on, but when fantastical creatures like a fell beast or Durthu's cousins start blending into the rocks behind them, I think you took it too far.
Yeah.
Luckily, the enemies usually remain readable, so it's not a huge problem gameplay-wise. I just feel my eyes glazing over sometimes.
That was a parry, if I remember correctly, so there's a little bit of a parry or a block system.
That being said, it's impressive just how faithfully they recreate all these environments and enemies from the movie. What actually stands out to me most are the areas where they had more creative freedom. The Paths of the Dead are more standout in that department.
Yeah.
The Fellowship never had to fight the undead in the films, but now you do. They really seem to have a knack for these creepy environments and enemies. Well, this was made by EA Redwood Shores, who would later change their name to Visceral Games. Yeah.
Oh, suddenly that makes a lot of sense, actually. Okay. This is the same studio that did Dead Space.
These guys would be making Dead Space a few years later. I guess I should have seen the clues. Though aspects like the models and textures have aged, there's still one thing that really sticks out to me. It's the animation work. Both the quality and the sheer amount of it there is.
Yeah.
Characters share a lot of combos and movesets, but how they actually play out looks very different. These can get very elaborate. A lot of the motion capture for the animation was actually done by the real stunt doubles used in the movie. So
I didn't actually know that. That's really interesting, right? I mean, like, you can tell this is an older game, right? It looks a lot better than some older games, but it also doesn't look as good as some older games. It actually fits in a very happy medium where, and I'm sure you could get an AI texture upscale or something like that eventually. I'm sure you could maybe find something like that. This is really, really cool. And I like that I've not run across a lot of other content creators that bring up old games like Lord of the Rings The Third Age or Lord of the Rings Two Towers Return of the King, the Hobbit game that used to exist. I never played it, but I mean, man, I like that he's bringing attention to games that aren't necessarily that popular. That's so cool.
They're smooth and detailed, but once again, seem very authentic to the film. It makes it easy to pick up a new character while at the same time feel like you're playing something different.
Right.
Sure, the button combo might be the same, but the speed at which it's pulled off, the flourishes the character does, all of that makes it feel unique. They still have their own abilities to make them stand out, but I won't get into that just yet. I think it's cool they took the time and effort to make this happen for each character when there are a lot of characters and there are a lot of combos. It's a great result. It's easy to pick up and play like a party game, yet visually it looks like a highly competitive fighting game.
Kinda.
All while looking faithful to what it's adapting. The game also sounds excellent and came with EAX support. It even goes out of its way to tell you that it's THX certified. That just means it killed some subwoofers.
Oh my god, if you didn't exist back then, or you haven't seen, like, because there are people, I'm assuming, that watch me, that maybe they've never seen Lord of the Rings, or they probably never even heard. God, THX that was an experience. Man, you weren't hearing after that intro, though. You have to understand, the early 2000s, audio balancing wasn't necessarily a thing. Lord of the Rings is one of those trilogies that you will have to, like, crank your volume for certain parts, like Galadriel speaking, right? And then you get to, like, you know, Pelennor Fields or something like that, or Helm's Deep, right? And you just have to turn that volume down to, like, 10. Oh, my God. THX was something else, I'll tell you what. Nice. Yeah, it's THX, isn't it? Yeah. Oh yeah. You fight the I think you fight the mouth of Sauron. So this is the Black Gate, obviously, right? Where Aragorn cuts the does the thing to the mouth of Sauron, but this is a boss arena that they made. It was kind of cool. You have to fight the ring wraiths. It was, a non-canonical, interesting way to finish off the final level for this path.
The flame of Arnor, come on!
The voice acting is also excellent, with about a dozen cast members reprising their role. Some of the voiceover in this was done before the film was ADR'd, so these guys are on the top of their game.
Yeah?
Those trees are an ancient madness.
Oh.
They require burning before they destroy all who live near them.
God, Sir Christopher Lee is just next level. I really, really miss him.
Come on, Mr. Frodo. I know the way out of here. Thank you, Sam.
I have a very bad feeling about this place.
Sadly, this makes the non-cast acting stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Stay alert. Move with caution.
Made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it.
Yeah, the voice acting. I mean, you have to understand there's going to be so much that they can do, honestly. No, this is... Yeah.
The way is shut.
The soundtrack is also excellent, but that's kind of cheating since it's just the film score.
Yeah,
I mean, if
that's
you don't know what that
cheating.
sounds like, then what are you doing here? So overall, the presentation is excellent. Now we can talk about the mechanics. After a brief tutorial mission in Helm's Deep, the game opens up, and now you have 3 different paths to choose from.
Yep, you can choose the 3 hunters path. You can choose Frodo and Sam. Was it Merry and Pippin? I don't think it was. It was Gandalf, right? Gandalf was the last path?
Fellowship Crew will let you choose between the 3 main members of the Orc Genocide Squad.
Yeah.
The Path of the Wizard and the Path of the Hobbits are restricted to Gandalf and Sam respectively.
Yeah.
At least at first. All of the missions are linear. Your
New
goal
Game Plus and stuff, you can play characters that aren't supposed to be in their specific lanes in other lanes.
is just to get to the end. Sometimes they mix it up. You might need to kill a certain number of enemies, sneak around, defend something, or fight a boss. The goals always remain straightforward.
That's the mouth. Did you see him diss on him? Wow.
The missions are all distinct from each other and none of them feel like filler. The game measures your skill by how you build up a combo meter in combat. Ideally, you want to be killing the bad men in very quick succession. When you land hits or parries, your perfect meter starts to go up.
Yeah.
Kills are worth more and more. When you max that out, you go into perfect mode and become a glowing god of... Melkor? No.
Melkor.
I don't remember the lore. Anyways, your
Oh my god, it depends. I mean, it wouldn't be Tuor, right? God, I can't remember. One of them was the brawling Mire. What was his name? It's gonna drive me nuts now. No, it wasn't a Mire. He was a Valar, right? Mire is Gandalf and Sauron tier. Gandalf is not a Valar. No, I can already answer that for you, internet. Lords of the Valar. It began with a T, I thought. Tolkos, that one. Tolkos, that would be a that could be one.
damage goes up and the enemies become worth a lot more points.
Tuor was somewhere
It only
different.
lasts a short while, so you need to make the most of it. At the end of the mission, your experience points are all tallied up and you get a mission rating.
Yep.
That'll give you a bonus and hopefully send you more towards the next level. This lets you spend all of your points and upgrades. The better you do, the stronger you'll get. As I mentioned before, a lot of the characters can use the same combos. Well, you could pay to unlock a new combo for one character, or pay slightly more to have it for every single character. This always struck me as odd for a few reasons. First, why would you not pay slightly more to have it for everyone at once? If you
Depends. I mean, for challenge runs, right? Not that this was in design, right? For challenge runs, if you're only doing limited runs or you're trying to do it in one playthrough, I mean, you're limiting yourself in certain points. I mean, that could be a consideration. The point system, they probably, like, if it was a game in modernity, right, probably would have been adjusted to be a lot more expensive for all of them. Tolkos, the meta fighter. Yeah, Tolkos is, he built different.
level up a lower guy in a mission, now they can use a bunch more combos. You also can't replay a character's mission until you've beaten the last level, so
Yeah.
you can't go back and grind.
Yeah.
So if you weren't buying these upgrades, you could be playing some endgame levels with a very weak character and make it pretty hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Speaking of hard, the balance for this game is completely out the window. Difficulty doesn't just affect enemy damage, it affects how much XP you get. Here's an example.
Ew.
Fair is the lowest rating. On hard, that gives 7 points. A step above that is good, which gives 18. So that's slightly more than normal, right? Because you're
Right.
fighting harder enemies? Well, no. On normal, fair gives 75 and good 150.
Ooh.
So it's roughly a 1000% difference.
Jesus.
At least in the lowest kill, good is slightly better. What's especially odd is that easy only gives slightly more points than normal. If you're playing on hard, you'll be playing this game a long time maxing out the characters, so
right.
At least there's that. Still, would someone playing on hard not get
I haven't seen this screen in years. I remember this screen. This is the post-action report. Man, I remember these screens.
Fellowship upgrade? I guess it's possible for that situation to arise, but I can't imagine it happening. Especially since by far the most useful skills in the game are fellowship upgrades. By that I mean Bane. All of the Banes. What you do is you parry an attack, you press a button, and they instantly die and you go in perfect mode.
Yeah.
There's no build-up, and you're invincible while doing it. These are spread out, and there's not one for every enemy in the game, but it makes a lot of them trivial. I'd be fine with it if it didn't make you go into perfect mode. As it stands, once you have them, getting a perfect score is trivial. Maybe hard is more tolerable if you're constantly using a Bane, but that's pretty boring. When I compared this to a party game earlier, I wasn't kidding. If you have some action game experience, this won't be the hardest game you've played. There are a few challenging parts, and some levels that would be good for farming.
The Muma kill was kind of a rough one. Certain parts of Kira Thungal and Shelob's Lair were a little bit rough too. Yeah, there were some progress gates.
Have no checkpoints to punish you. So ultimately it's a system that's flawed, but adds some fun progression to you playing the game.
Yeah, it's not a perfect system by any means, but here's the thing. It was fun, at least when I played it. It was fun. And how many times have we, gone over in general as a gaming community, right? How many times have we really discussed that, a game can be not perfect, but as long as it's fun, people will play it. So this was just back when games generally were more fun to play, and this was before live service models and stuff like that existed.
Later upgrades make mashing a light or heavy attack button 4 times a combo.
Oh, EA nowadays, all of these would be in loot boxes, right? All of these would be, surprise mechanics, or they would be some form of microtransaction. There's no way this would be in the base game, or you'll get like 1 or 2 per level, and the rest are going to be extra content.
So if you're looking for something really skill intensive, this probably isn't your thing. That said, the combat itself is still a lot of fun. You have a good sense of your character's control and can even change your attack direction mid-swing. The game's balance outside of the experience system is incredibly fair.
The wall was kind of rough.
Legless might not do a lot of damage, but is very forgiving due to his speed. Plus of the insane arrows he can get. Then you have someone like Gimli who needs better timing since it takes him a calendar year to swing, but he does way more damage. The hobbits have less reach than the PlayStation Vita, but their levels have tools to exploit. Sam is basically an orc Grim Reaper.
Yeah, that tracks though, lore-wise too. Yep, there it is. Man, I remember that part. That was fun.
And Gandalf, well, Gandalf's a wizard.
Yeah, his ultimate is like those things that he just shot. That's his last upgrade, or at least one of his last upgrades, is he just fires these bolts that just do massive damage.
Well, Gandalf's a wizard.
I don't remember the shield as much. Oh, no, I do,
Hobbits can cloak and backstab, Gandalf is magical, and the Fellowship can increase their perfect mode faster. It would be nice if these three had more unique abilities, but they are on the same path, so it can slide. My biggest issue with the combat, and really the game, is the camera. You have no control over it.
No.
Occasionally it'll be a zip code away and you can't tell what's happening while you're being mobbed.
In the Paths of the Dead specifically, there are parts where you'll walk and it'll jar into the next, kind of like Resident Evil 2, how there's some hallways, from what I've seen, where you'll walk down it and then it'll go to a different hallway's camera perspective, and then you have to adjust your control scheme to kind of walk through that, or at least it's a little disorientating. Same thing. It is there are some corners in the camera's fixed, so it can lead to some weird interactions, or you potentially even missing some key information about the area.
Sometimes it'll keep switching angles and you're moving around and completely throw off your sense of direction. Random stuff in the foreground obstructing your vision. Even some of the regular angles are just awkward. The game actually does a lot to prevent these situations, like making objects and characters transparent, but when things go off the rails, you always notice it.
Yep,
it doesn't stop the rest of the game from being enjoyable. It's still a really solid experience, and it could be elevated even more if you have a friend.
Yes.
This game has co-op.
It's co-op. It's 2-player, but yes, you can co-op this, of course. As somebody with not really friends, I never was really able to do this. Or I think maybe I did it twice.
It's no secret that any game is fun with friends. While it does lack some elements as a single-player game, in co-op it fully makes up for them. You can play the entire game with someone else, and now different fighting styles can complement each other.
Yeah.
You share a life pool, so if one of you dies, you both have to start over. At the same time, you also share the experience pool when it comes to buying new upgrades. The fellowship skills make more sense here. They help both of you out. Really, the only downside to this is that the camera will be more awkward than before, especially now that you're lashed to another person. You can also expect to be hit by more off-screen enemies and being trapped on the edge. You need to stick together. The co-op is really the high point of this game. Trying to get angles and enemies together, covering each other, it all works out great.
Absolutely. I do a collab of this. Obviously, that would require a lot of finagling, and I don't think you'd be able to do it natively on PC over like Wi-Fi or anything like that. So, I mean, this would require people to be in the same room. I would do it in a heartbeat.
I'd say the single player is good, but the co-op is where it truly excels. The single player still has a lot of good stuff, especially if you are a big fan.
These are the bonus levels. These are bonus missions and stuff.
The movies. Because it was made during the film production, you could see things like the Witch King's old design, scenes that were deleted from the theater release, scenes that I don't think were in any release, and a lot of behind-the-scenes features.
That's actually super interesting. I might have to go grab a copy of this just to delve through that backlog. Obviously, the quality is going to be a little, because it's going to be, what, like 480, right? But, like, damn, I want to see that now. I completely didn't know that there were scenes that weren't in it. This is scenes supplementary, especially if you're looking for more film things that weren't actually there. Beat it on Legendary in the game shop. Hell yeah, nice.
That should maybe stay buried.
Well, Elijah's a pretty good gamer.
The best player would be Elijah.
Well, this is where...
Why does this not surprise me, though? Why would Elijah Wood be the best gamer out of them? Why does this make sense? Also, he looks the same as he did. I'm on to you, Elijah. I'm really on to you. Like, there's some David Bowie-isms going on here. There's a reason you're not aging. I'm on to you. I don't know what it is yet, but I see you, and you're always there. I also love the work all of you did in the films. I absolutely would love to be big enough one day to thank them personally, but that is leagues above what I can be right now. But no, it's great.
I get to pat myself in the back. I'm definitely a better gamer than the two of them.
Yes!
Ironic, because was he not in, oh god, what was it? It was Spy Kids 3, right? He was the one, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? The world suddenly makes sense now.
Surprising they made Elijah Wood the Gamer King. I thought it might be Sean Astin because Sam murders so many orcs in this. I guess there's only one way to get the answer.
Hey, Mandalore, it's Sean Astin here.
What?
I understand that you and your friends have been playing EA Lord of the Rings Return of the King, and that in the bonus features, some concede that Elijah Wood was the best gamer. Now, I'm not sure what to make.
I love this. I love that this cast is so legit that they'll just do stuff like this. Sean Astin, as of this going, he's looking really good still. Like, that's awesome. I mean, not saying like any other cast doesn't. I mean, like, you know, Viggo Mortensen, like he's definitely looks a little older. But I mean, Viggo Mortensen is a man that I would buy a drink, and I would thank him for just a wonderful career and so many wonderful memories, as well as portraying, you know, peak healthy masculinity in the film version of Aragorn. John Astin, I mean, the amount of memes, potatoes, oh man, like I have so many fond memories of this cast, and there's so many actors, if given the chance, I would not only love to speak to, but just thank for the work they've done across Lord of the Rings, across, you know, Star Wars, Mark Hamill especially. I almost said Christian Bale. That's not who I'm thinking of. Both Anakin and Obi-Wan's actors, right? Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. I thought, I'm getting way into the weeds here. It's really cool that they're willing to interact in these capacities. That's so awesome.
Make of this poppycock.
Oh.
Do you mean that Frodo, in-game Frodo, was tougher than in-game Sam? Because, I mean, I played the game when it first came out, had a ball doing the voices. A lot of people have approached me to say how, you know, if it wasn't for Sam, they wouldn't have, you know, I don't know, reached Nirvana playing the game or something. But if you mean like
Sam's good in the game.
Person like Elijah and Sean on this set of Lord of the Rings gaming, or Elijah as a person, like through his whole life, is he more of a gamer than Sean? I just don't know what I don't remember the extra scenes. So what I will say is a little anecdote about how Elijah's game of Bond game. He had a Bond game. I can't remember the platform we were on. 007
007
was in it. Sean Bean's character in the movie, and the character, of course,
Man, Boromir got done dirty.
this photo reel in the game, and I was playing 006. And we were in the South Island of New Zealand, and the door was open to our dressing room, and people were walking by, and there was a lot of drama going on. But then for the first time on the movie, we met Sean Bean. He was walking by.
Legend.
But literally just as
Sean Bean as well. I mean, I feel like he always gets done dirty in roles by studios and movies just killing him off. I feel like he gets a bad rep, or he has this weird stigma about him. I love him. He did a really good job as Boromir. I've seen some of the other roles he's done. He's a really good actor.
He was walking by. My Sean Bean character in the game took one to the head. So it was like, oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm reincarnated. Look at that. Sean Bean. Hi, Sean. This is Elijah. Anyhow, Elijah, I honestly don't know. I can't even answer this question. But just know that I take gaming very seriously. I think gaming is important on a lot of levels. I've actually done several documentaries. Video Games the Movie. I'm the narrator.
What? I didn't know this was a thing. I'm learning things today. I have to go watch those at some point. That's amazing. Huh. Thank you, Sean Astin, for being just an absolute certified legend.
So it's sort of a fun little take. I could go on about this, but I just love that you've reached out to me and you've brought me back to Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, EA Sports. It's in the game. I like the sports games too, but.
Oh man, EA Sports, it's in the game. Oh man. It's been 3,000 years, chat.
Race car driving, and I could go on for hours. Much love, best wishes. If you need to know who's better, don't look any further than right here.
Got him.
Oh, counter argument.
I've actually made the controller float, and without touching anything, I've managed to play the game. It's only happened a few times.
You know, see, here's the thing, is that he says this, and a lot of people are going to write him off as he's joking. I'm on to you. I'm on to you, Elijah. I see you. I know you don't see me because I'm way too small. I see you. I don't know what fey magic or contract you have, but I'll figure it out at some point.
I haven't talked about the story because really, it just follows the film. Most of the movie scenes they do use are from the Two Towers. They probably didn't want to spoil the footage of the new movie, or it just wasn't filmed yet.
That makes sense,
If you didn't know the film material already, at best the game would seem disjointed, and at worst, you'd be completely lost. You don't want to play this for the story. When you do beat the game, you'll unlock new characters and some appropriately challenging challenge maps.
Oh my god, they were rough. They were hard. Like, I was sweating in them.
Characters are just clones of the ones you've been playing already.
Yeah.
The funniest part is Faramir uses Aragorn's animations, but they didn't give him a combat knife. Instead, he just punches them into the Shadow Realm.
Just punches the dude. Faramir, you legend.
That's something to look.
The Two Towers had a secret character. The game before this had Isildur as a secret character. So in the last game, in Two Towers, there were the three hunters, right? You had Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. None of the other ones were playable, but there was a fourth character that you could unlock once you beat the game, and it was Isildur, and it was using his model from the battle of the prologue from Fellowship. It wasn't Morannon. That's the Black Gate. Oh my! Why I'm having trouble with this for reference is because the Battle of Mordor in the prologue in the movie and the books are completely different. And so my brain actually jumbles the two, because as far as I'm aware, I think it was closer to the Morannon. But then they did get him to Barad-dûr at a certain point, or they at least pressed Sauron out, and High King Elendil, and who was it from the elf? High King Gilgalad. No, it was High King Elendil and High King Gilgalad 2v1 Sauron, and they all kind of party wiped each other. So it did function a lot differently, and the way there's been mass intellectual debate on the differences between the book and the movie. To stop myself from turning this into a 2-hour video, we're gonna stop there. But yeah, it was Isildur's model from the Fellowship prologue.
Forward to. I definitely recommend this game if you do have a way to play it. This is a game in licensing hell, so I don't expect it to be sold digitally or anywhere easily anytime soon.
No.
It's sad because there are some good Lord of the Rings games out there.
Yeah.
This, Battle for Middle-earth, The Third Age, but they're becoming harder to find.
He is one of the only other creators I've heard talk about The Third Age. That immediately boosts him in my respect points. Damn.
And harder to run. So if you have an opportunity to play it, then go for it. Bring a friend if you can. The next video will be something a little more sci-fi. I'll see you then.
Quetzal in chat says that Sauron killed Thranduil's father. I don't think it was Sauron specifically. So, in short, Thranduil's father's forces, were actually to the north of Mordor and actually started the assault before the elves were ready. And so they got into a skirmish where the Dead Marshes effectively were. As far as so the siege of Mordor, and by extension the siege of Barad-dûr, lasted 7 years, if I understand it correctly, or maybe it was closer to 40. I have a bunch of numbers from Silmarillion research just jumbling around my head, and I apologize. But it was a multi-year offensive against Mordor. So Thranduil's father, his army, his forces from Mirkwood were the elves that, formed the Dead Marshes. So, yeah. There's a lot of Tolkien. If people really want to see me go on about Tolkien, I can brush up on my research and make videos, but it would take a lot of time to make and research properly. So definitely let me know if there's demand for that.
Big thanks to everyone who made that one part happen, and to everyone else making the video happen at all. If you're going to do something on a movie licensed game, do it very carefully. You might have to spend days figuring out what's triggering something to be blocked and what's not. It can drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, are there any projects that you'd like to do but are hard to do? Total War Warhammer is the big one. That's my white whale. A lot of RPGs too, like Baldur's Gate or Pillars of Eternity, stuff that need a lot of time investment to do right, so I'm gonna put those off for a while. Do you like hard or punishing games like Dark Souls? Yeah, it feels rewarding when I beat those. What can make you stop working on a video for something besides overexposure? It's usually technical stuff, or if a game is very text heavy. If it's something like an emulator being questionably run, or a small community where I might cause more harm by showing it, I try to balance it out. What's your favorite 40k faction? Imperial Guard, Orcs being a close second. At the absolute bottom for me is probably the Eldar, and I think I was trained to hate them by Dawn of War, but I can't remember exactly why. I try to block that kind of thing out. I'm going to be talking about 40k more this year, so you might get some more insight into that kind of thing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
No, I mean, this is a great piece. I absolutely loved it.
Alea, get out of the house now!
Jesus. I need to know what that's from. That's great. But alas, that was a really good video, and I'm very happy to see other creators still remember these games like I do, and they still, I'm not crazy, and I'm not just in this weird time bubble, as the last few years have felt like I've been in a time bubble. But alas, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on, did you play Return of the King in the past? What are your thoughts on the Lord of the Rings motion picture trilogy? It's one of the most legendary, if not masterpiece, film trilogies ever made. I remember watching this Hobbit. Do you remember watching the Rankin and Bass Hobbit? And if so, what'd you think of it? As well as, I guess we can also leave off on, do you prefer book or film adaptations in regards to Lord of the Rings? Let me know in the comments section, as well as if you do want Kip to do more Lord of the Rings content, or if you'd like me to move to an official edited process for it. I'd be more than happy to talk about Tolkien at length. I just want to make sure that there's going to be enough of demand, because there's already so many great creators in the sphere as is. But I will see you in the next one.